So I'm taking a massive break from making freezer meals. Like, I'm done for now because of a lot of reasons that I will tell you as we go along. So what I'm doing instead, I want to do a meal prep for my family of 7 for at least the next 2-3 weeks. I want to prep what we're going to be using to cook, but I'm not going to cook the meals all the way. And I'm doing this because not only, yes, as much as I'm done with freezer meals for now, I still want to make my life easier during the week, like when I've come from work and I don't have much time. So that's what I want to do today. What I did last night is I soaked my pulses or my legumes. So here I have beans that have been soaking overnight. Here I have chickpeas. I also made yogurt last night. I'm going to show you a clip of what I did last night. But now it's time to start boiling. The other thing that I'm really excited to try is I want to make a tomato base of everything. What I usually make when I'm frying food. A lot of you guys have suggested this over time when I was making the freezer meals. So today I want to give that a shot. I'll just make a huge amount of tomato base with onions, all those things, and then freeze it in portions so that when we want to cook, we just take that out of the freezer. And then with the already pre-boiled everything that I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be chopping a lot of ingredients and setting them in the fridge so that when it's time to cook again, that saves us a couple of precious minutes. Okay, so first things first is to start boiling. I have chickpeas here, as I said, I have beans. As these are going, then I'm going to also take care of the rest of the ingredients. I'm excited, and yeah, I'm glad you're here. Let's do this.
Now that the chickpeas have been soaking for almost 24 hours, when it comes to boiling them in the pressure cooker, they're going to take a very short time. I would usually not just boil the beans and lentils and chickpeas, but when I'm making my freezer meals, I would normally go ahead and just cook completely, fry and pack the whole stew. But this time I'm doing it this way because one, it takes a shorter time for me. Like there's less time for me in the kitchen than when I am doing a proper freezer meal cooking, because now it's just boiling, prepping ingredients and put it in the fridge. Also, the other thing is, some people might say that making freezer meals, that they don't come out tasting fresh from the freezer. So this is an alternative for you. If you'd like to still cook your meals every day but make your life easier, you can pre-boil and then pack them in individual bags like I'm doing. And then on the day, when the day comes, you've chopped up all the ingredients, you've sort of made your tomato base, so it's just mixing the two. Tastes like it's been made fresh from scratch that day, but actually you've done a lot of prep beforehand. This month we're also going to be having githeri, and I like to put peas in my githeri. Sometimes I even put peanuts. It tastes very, very nice. Give it a try. Let me ask you, has your help left for the holidays? Because I know sometimes for me it used to get so overwhelming, like when my house help would go for the holidays, because I go to work and I would feel, the way, of course there are help, there's such an integral part of our homes, but when I would come from work, I would feel so overwhelmed if she's not there. But that was before I discovered, of course, making freezer meals and also doing meal prep. So now when she leaves, I have so much peace when I'm at work, because I'm like, yeah, you go have fun, rest and relax. I got this. My house is covered.
I have quite a bunch of stuff to boil with my one pressure cooker. Despite the fact that they're all soaked, I just find that it's taking forever. So some of these things that are a bit easier to boil, I'm going to just start boiling on the stove and on my boiler at the back. I also need to pre-boil some beef, and I have some minced beef. So plenty of boiling, also a bit of chopping. So that's how I want to get the boiling going. And then once these ones start boiling, And basically all I'm saying is I need to manage a lot of fires at this point in time because I only have the one pressure cooker, but I'm not complaining. It's going to come in handy still. And then we can get to packaging. The hardest part about this meal prep is just the pre-boiling and the chopping. But apart from that, to be just packing, I am guessing and aiming for it to take about 3 hours, maximum 4 hours of work.
For me, I am not going to be closing work for the holidays. I think a lot of shift workers can feel me in this. So there's this feeling you get when you're the only one going to work and everybody's at home enjoying the holidays. However, one thing, as I said, that's really helping me is just prepping in advance and making sure everything is settled before I go to work. And taking an afternoon on a weekend to prep everything without spending the whole day in the kitchen is such a game changer for me. Like nowadays, I'm all about the soft life, taking it easy, not punishing myself. I just want to do things that are beneficial for my family, but also that are working for me, you know? The other thing I'm doing is prepping the ingredients. And the good thing with this is that they keep very well in the fridge when they are all chopped up. I love using my food processor to chop stuff, to grate carrots. That is one of my least favorite jobs when I'm cooking is grating carrots. Like, oh my god. Sometimes I end up grating my meals. So the fact that I can use my food processor to do all this for me, yes, please sign me up. When it comes to the tomato base, one thing there are two ways to look at it. One, normally what I would do when I'm doing a meal prep is I would chop everything up, including the onions and the tomatoes and the peppers, and put them in the fridge when they're chopped, waiting for the day when I'll be cooking so that I can start cooking them. But the other option, which I'm trying to do for the first time, is actually, as I said, cooking that tomato base. Because a lot of you have said that most of your meals, especially when I'm doing freezer meals, guys are like, most of your meals seems to be starting the same way. You do onions, then you do garlic and ginger, and then you put tomatoes and tomato paste. So I've gotten this comment so many times, why don't you just cook all that base at the same time and then divide it to the several meals? So that's what I'm trying to do today, and I'm really hoping it's going to work out. I will let you know how it goes. When I was chopping up the onions, my housewife was so grateful. She was like, thank you for using this machine to chop up the onions. For her, you know, like for me, grating carrots is my worst job. For her, it is chopping onions. She was like, she cries so much, which of course everybody does. So I think if you had the option of actually using a food processor to chop up everything, especially onions, yes, please. Sometimes they do come out really, really tiny, like as you've seen mine. But I don't mind that they're tiny. In fact, I prefer the tiny ones to the big ones. It saves us so many tears in the kitchen. For the tomato base, I'm just going to use these 3 spices because now that's the difference. That's why sometimes I prefer to cook separately, because for separate meals, I can use separate spices. Like for instance, I like to put turmeric in my beans, but I don't like to put turmeric in like beef. Do you get? So despite the fact that the base might be the same, it is the spices that make difference. I like to put oregano and thyme in my beefs, but not in my beans. You get? But to make work easier today, I'm just doing everything at the same time. And yeah, I mean, there are pros and cons to this method. I blend my garlic and ginger paste with just a little bit of water. I don't put oil. Someone was asking me about this, and it lasts very well in the fridge for up to 3 weeks, by the way, when it's just blended like that. My tomato base has come out so well. I like how thick it is. I'm going to let you know once I use it to fry a meal how it's going to taste, but so far so good. So what I'm going to be doing is just taking 1 scoop or 2 when I'm cooking a meal, cutting out at least 15 minutes in my cooking time. As far as the minced beef goes, my plan is to just cook it until it's dry, and then I'm going to save it in my fridge, and then the day I want to fry it, of course, it's going to save me so much time. This is an easy hack. I also cook my own lean minced beef. This is for me specifically because I am still working on my weight loss goals and I'm still trying to hit my protein target, and I just save it in like small containers, so I add it to my meals when I realize that my meal does not have enough protein. This is such an easy way for me to up my protein intake.
Something has happened to my yogurt. I have left it in the oven for like almost 24 hours now, and it just has refused to set. This has never happened to me ever in my entire almost 7 years of making my own yogurt. So what I'm guessing is what went wrong is either the yogurt I was using wasn't good. That culture wasn't okay. Something had happened to it, which is so sad. So I have 6 liters of milk here. I don't know what to do with, but I'm not going to throw them away. I can use it to make like pancakes. I can use it to make chapos. I'm going to use it to bake everything because it's still good. It just smells very slightly sour, very slightly, but it's okay. It hasn't curdled. It just looks like regular milk that yogurt fell into. And then it has sugar, it has vanilla, so it will make a good base. So sometimes it just is what it is, you know? So I'm just gonna put it back in the fridge, and then I'll show you guys how I'll use it none of these days. I don't know. We'll try it together and then we'll see what comes of it. So tomorrow I'll have to go buy more milk, and then I'll start from scratch, buy another packet of yogurt. But this is my lesson. You see, I've always known that I need to set aside a bit of yogurt from the last batch to make the next batch. But I'm always like, no, I'll just buy new culture, Well. I have learned my lesson. So from now henceforth, I'll have a special container that only has culture, just to avoid all this mess, okay? It is the way it is, as I said. So let me put this in the fridge. I'll just put it in the milk bottles, put it in the fridge, and then it is what it is. I want to use the yogurt that backfired, the milk that was supposed to be making yogurt. I want to use it to make pancakes. I had promised the kids that I would make them pancakes for breakfast today, but unfortunately I overslept. Yesterday was a busy day for me at work. So I am going to make pancakes for them to have as their 4 o'clock snack and also for breakfast tomorrow, because the last thing I want is to actually waste my milk. Okay, it's still good, it doesn't smell sour and everything, so it's good enough for that. But then later in the day I'm going to make dinner with what we have already meal prepped. The reason why I love meal prepping is that now I don't have to spend all that time chopping stuff. I can actually use that time to make something else for my kids, and then just when it's almost dinner time I'm going to make some beef stew. I've already removed the beef, it's thawing, and the tomato base that I made, so I'm going to show you how I'm using that, and you're going to have that with garlic, okay? And then after that I'm going to try again to make yogurt, because we cannot stay in this house without yogurt. It's so good for our tummies. So first let's make the pancakes. We like to make American pancakes, which are the fluffy ones, so I always like to put baking powder, but this is completely optional. If that's not the kind of pancake that you like, you can make crepes, which are just as nice. But for me, I like the fluffy ones, but when you eat like 1 or 2, you just feel like your tummy is happy. And this is a very simple recipe. I think everyone needs to have at least a simple recipe that you can whip up quickly, that you don't have to check in a book, that when you need to make some nice breakfast and you don't have time. So for me, this is my go-to. It's so easy. Crowd pleaser, everyone loves it.
I feel so bad about my yogurt. That has never literally happened to me before. But here we are making lemonade out of lemons. When you have guests or when you need to come up with a special like breakfast, as I say, what do you make for your people? Like, let's say you have guests who have spent the night and you just don't want to give them the usual tea and bread or something like that. Do you have like a go-to recipe that you turn to, and what is that? Please let's share those ideas below, because I feel like breakfast is one of those meals that we struggle a lot with as homemakers and as moms. So yeah, let's share. My kids have gotten tired of waiting for breakfast for the pancakes. So thankfully I had these yummy peanuts I had bought. So it helps them to wait for the pancake, because you know the way pancakes are, it takes a while for them to get ready. And when kids are hungry, especially when they're active and hungry like they don't feel like waiting until I finish putting my life in order. So plan B as we wait for plan A. The pancakes have come out very respectfully. I feel like they have respected me and all the trauma I have gone through with the yogurt. So yeah, I feel respected by these pancakes. They look like they recognize someone who's disappointed and they don't want to add to my disappointment. So I love it when the pancakes come together. Sometimes pancakes can show you fire, especially the first ones. Almost always the first ones that shows me that. But at least today I'm happy. These are very respectful pancakes. Our kids lately have gotten the bug, let me say that, of drinking milk. Usually they don't like milk, by the way. They prefer hot chocolate or tea. But there comes phases in life when they're just like, I want milk, I want milk. Even after dinner, guys are like, I want to have a glass of milk after my meal. So, we go with it until the phase ends, and then now we move on with the next phase. I have pre-boiled my beef in the pressure cooker because, again, this is just making work easier. And then I'm going to show you how I'm going to use it to make dinner tonight. So after work, when I'm making a meal with the ingredients I have prepped, of course, the most important thing is to remember to actually remove them from the freezer. How many times have we all forgotten to remove something from the freezer in the morning, and then it's 5 o'clock and you're supposed to be making dinner and the thing is just completely frozen? It's a rock, So what I prefer to do with the beef is, because the beef, I had just boiled it, I hadn't fried it, I like to fast fry it in some hot oil so that I can get that browning effect, because you want the beef taste. The browning and caramelization gives it a really nice and yummy taste. So I'm going to start with the beef, and then once that is cooked through and I feel like the whole house is smelling like one large barbecue, that's when I go in now with the rest of my prep ingredients. The tomato base goes in very well. It's already frozen. I mean, it was from the fridge, so it wasn't completely frozen, it was just chilled. But once I removed it from the fridge, came to room temperature, then now I'm going to put it in together with the beef, and it comes out so well. I had also saved some beef stock from when I boiled the beef, so that's also going to come in handy when it comes to making this dish. Let me know if you feel that this is easier than actually cooking the freezer meal through and through, because for me, initially I would be like, yes, let me just cook the whole meal all the way through the end. Then I realize some people don't like that, but I would like to hear from you guys, like in the comment section. Do you think this is easier, prepping the ingredient and then cooking on the day off, or do you think it's easier to just completely cook the freezer meal all the way, and then all you have to do on the day of eating it is to just reheat it? Let me know. I'd love to hear what you guys think about it. And of course, what remains of the tomato base and the beef stock, I put in the fridge for the next day. The good thing with beef stock, I can use it for any of our meals, and it's going to taste amazing. Whether I'm cooking the beans that we've already boiled or the chickpeas, it's delicious, okay? I've made some ugali here, and it's time for me to serve my people and hear their verdict. As for me, I feel like this has definitely gone faster than, of course, starting to cook from scratch, starting to chop up carrots from scratch, starting to grate carrots and onions and all that from scratch. However, I do feel like it has taken much longer than removing the beef stew like from the freezer and just reheating it. I don't know. I'd love to hear what you guys think. If you found this video helpful, check out this video over here showing you other ways you can make your life easier by making breakfast meal prep, and I'll see you over there. Bye.